Good evening. A Makati court today ordered the arrest of Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, reviving his rebellion case in relation to the 2007 Manila Peninsula siege. Trillanes yields but later walked free and returned to the Senate, where he is holed up after his amnesty was voided by President Rodrigo Duterte. Mai Bermudez will tell us why, live from Makati City. Yes, Mai, good evening.
Yes, Rheena, good evening. It's a breathtaking turn of events for today in the life of Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, as the Makati Regional Trial Court Branch 150 issued an arrest order against him. And after that, he was granted a temporary liberty after posting a 200,000 peso bail. Minutes before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Branch 150 of Makati RTC issued an arrest and hold departure orders against Senator Antonio Trillanes IV. It was the same court which handled and dismissed his rebellion case in September 2011. Clerk of Court Attorney Diosfa Valencia says one of the reasons why Judge Alameda granted the DOJ's motion is due to Trillanes' failure to present the original copy of the amnesty application form he filed with the D&D Ad Hoc Committee in 2011.
Based sa findings po niya, kasi factual kami, di po ba? Wala po kasi na-present si Senator na hard copy of the amnesty application, which is the basis of President Duterte, no, for a revocation of the amnesty granted by the former President Aquino. So yun po ang naging basis. Yung other exhibits presented by Senator, parang wala daw po probative value.
The embattled legislator yields to arresting officers who brought him to Makati Police Station for the booking procedures. His mugshots and fingerprints were taken. At past 4 in the afternoon, he was presented before the Makati court, accompanied by his lawyer and other opposition senators. Trillanes posted a 200,000 peso bail for his temporary liberty. After receiving the bail and a few minutes of discussion with the judge, a release order was issued to the senator. Yes, Rheena, but Trillanes is not yet off the hook as the Makati court revives his rebellion case, meaning his amnesty was voided from the start. So the trial that was halted in September 2011 is expected to continue, meaning the prosecution was ordered to present the initial findings or the initial evidence on November 21, 2018. And those were the live updates here from Makati City. Back to you, Rheena.
Thank you so much, Mai Bermudez, live from Makati City. Former President Benigno Aquino III denies claims that the Liberal Party is working with the communist rebels to oust President Duterte. The Armed Forces of the Philippines has earlier said that a broad coalition of communist rebels and Duterte's critics are conspiring to remove the president from office in October. Aquino says the military should show proof to support their allegations.
Importante, mahusay nagsisiyasat yung analysis na tinatawag. Kung hindi, puro chismis lang yun. Baka naman ang proof dyan magpapakita ng litrato na minsan sa aming mga buhay, nagbatean kami ng good morning. Baka yung litrato nagbatean kami, yun ang preba. Hindi naman ganong klaseng preba.
The Liberal Party names 3 of its official candidates for the 2019 senatorial elections. The party also remains confident of their bets despite their low rankings in the surveys. Grace Casin tells us why.
The Liberal Party has announced its 3 official candidates for the 2019 senatorial race during an event led by former President Benigno Aquino III and Vice President Leni Robredo. The 3 candidates are incumbent Senator Bam Aquino, De La Salle College of Law Dean Jose Manuel Chel Jocno, and former House Deputy Speaker Quezon Representative Erin Tanyada. Among the issues they want to focus on include the lowering of prices of commodities, protection of human rights, and free legal services, among others.
Marami tayong hinaharap na problema at marami pa tayong haharapin na baka lalong lumalang problema. At talagang lalalayan pag tayo nagkamali kung sino itatalaga natin. Dapat talaga mamili tayo na itataguyod ang interes natin.
For her part, Robredo says being an LP member at this time is a challenge because of various criticisms plus its low rankings in surveys. Nevertheless, Robredo cited the sudden turnout of events during her time in 2016, when she was receiving less support in surveys but her actual vote rocketed during the actual elections.
Napakaaga pa para pag-usapan yung chances. Kasi in the middle of the campaign season, talagang umiiba yung ihip ng hangin. Nakita natin yun nung 2016 presidential saka vice presidential elections.
Meanwhile, LP is likely to issue the rest of its senatorial slate on October 8 before the filing of Certificate of Candidacy. LP is considering former Bangsamoro Transition Committee member Samira Gutok to be one of them. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Meanwhile, the Department of Trade and Industry is urging the Filipino workers in the United Kingdom to venture into a franchising business. Jovic Vermas tells us why.
The Department of Trade and Industry encourages Filipino workers to become entrepreneurs through a dialogue seminar on financial and investment education at the Philippine Embassy in London, United Kingdom. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez is especially urging the overseas Filipino workers to venture into franchising, citing the sector's current pace of growth. Lopez also says that OFWs should take advantage of the thriving franchising industry in the Philippines, while advising them to deal only with legitimate franchisors and join industry associations.
We always say that in franchising at least, medyo tried and tested to, mataas ang batting average for success, 90%. Basta makapili sila ng tamang franchise.
Richard Sanz, the president of the Philippine Franchise Association, also advises OFWs to consider investing in franchising other than putting their money in banks, time deposits, and stocks investment. Sanz points out that aside from high return of investment, OFWs can also involve their families back home to manage and grow their business.
When you go into franchising, it's a bigger scale of investments and help that you can extend to your families.
Data released by the U.S. News and World Report this year ranks the Philippines as the top country to invest in. If its progress and economic stability continues, the Philippines could become the 16th largest economy in the world by 2050, based on HSBC projections.
There's so much potential, so it's very encouraging as a young entrepreneur.
Filipinos in the United Kingdom have expressed positive reactions to the proposal to try the established and new franchise concepts in the Philippines.
Yeah, it's very enlightening, especially sa mga Filipinos who wanted to invest. May mga relatives pa doon and who wanted to invest in the Philippines rather than here.
Very expertly done, and this should have started long time ago because there are lots of Filipinos who already have retired and went home.
Christopher Lim, director for ASEAN Philippine Franchise Association, meanwhile has this advice for OFWs who wishes to venture into franchising.
It's not just about putting in money, it's also putting in your time and your efforts. And even if someone else is running, make sure they check up on the business. They don't just leave it alone or else something may go wrong.
Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue, London, United Kingdom.
Senator Antonio Trillanes IV said democracy is lost today after Makati court ordered his arrest. Meanwhile, Vice President Leni Robredo decries Trillanes' arrest as curtailment of dissent. JL Asayo is at the Senate to tell us why live. Yes, JL.
Rheena, in the previous statement of Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, said that this is now the time for the judiciary to prove that they are independent and they uphold the rule of law in light of Proclamation number 572 issued by the President Rodrigo Duterte a month ago. But instead, democracy is lost. This is the strong statement of the lawmaker after Makati Branch 150 granted the motion of the Department of Justice to order his arrest over rebellion charges. He said after presenting pieces of evidence to prove otherwise against the state prosecutor's allegations, still a legal harassment is shown through the issue of a warrant of arrest for him. He added, this is one of President Duterte's aggressive way to tame his critics.
Natalo po ang demokrasya ngayong araw na ito. Gaya ng sinasabi ko last week, itong mga petisyon namin sa korte ay isang pagsubok sa tibay ng ating demokrasya, ng ating judicial system.
Sige pa, magtaas. Trillanes is the second opposition senator to have been arrested. Another administration critic senator, Laila de Lima, is detained on drug charges. Vice President Leni Robredo is dismayed by the turn of events in his case and expressed sympathy to Trillanes. The VP said she is very sure that Trillanes will follow and abide by the law.
Mo demonyo, di ganun. Lahat ng kasamaan, expected mo. So, alam naman natin ang panlaban sa demonyo ay panalangin.
After posting bail, Senator Trillanes immediately returned to the Senate, resumed the hearing he left behind for a while, and attended to other schedules for today. He has this message for the President.
Kay Mr. Duterte, baluktutin mo na ang kailangan mong baluktutin, isagasa mo na ang lahat ng isagasa. Pero yung kasamaan na pinagahari mo dito sa ating bayan ay hindi yan mananaig. Kung maililigpit mo man ako, meron at meron papalit sa akin.
The lawmaker also said that this is just a round one of fight as they are still awaiting for the decision of Makati RTC Branch 148 and they are hoping for a favorable decision this time. Rheena, meanwhile, Trillanes will still remain here at the Senate for his safety and security while this case is ongoing. Rheena?
Thank you so much, JL Asayo, for that update live at the Senate. Meanwhile, Malacanang announces that President Duterte has formally ordered the removal of non-tariff barriers and administrative constraints on the importation of agricultural products. The palace also believes that former NFA Chief Jason Aquino should be held liable for the rise prices in the country. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte has signed several orders aimed at controlling food inflation. Malacanang says this include the Administrative Order No. 13 signed on September 21, which removes non-tariff barriers and streamlines administrative procedures on the importation of agricultural products such as rice and meat. Duterte also signed Memorandum Order No. 26 directing the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Trade and Industry to adopt measures to reduce the gap between farm gate prices and retail prices of agricultural products, such as setting up public outlets and cold storages where poultry producers can directly sell their products to consumers. The Memorandum Order No. 27, meanwhile, directs the DA, Department of the Interior and Local Government, Philippine National Police and Metro Manila Development Authority to adopt measures to ensure the efficient and seamless delivery of imported agriculture and fishery products from ports to markets by issuing food lane passes for truckers and suppliers carrying agricultural products. While Memorandum Order No. 28 orders the National Food Authority to release existing rice stocks in its warehouses. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque believes former administrator of the National Food Authority Jason Aquino should be held liable for the rice crisis in the country. If no one will file cases against Aquino, Roque himself will file the complaints against the former NFA chief.
So hindi lang technical malversation isasampa ko sa kanya kung walang ibang magsampa. Graft and corruption din po to set the record straight. Mas marami pa po akong isasampa. At saka maliit lang pong parusa sa technical malversation. Gusto ko yung matagal na kulong.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The National Food Authority Council has banned the importation of the so-called fancy rice beginning today. The process of rice importation will also be strictly supervised by the Department of Agriculture. Asher Cadapan Jr. tells us why.
In an effort to bring down prices in the market, the National Food Authority Council under the Department of Agriculture has banned starting today the importation of 5% broken milled white rice, also known as fancy rice. DH Secretary Manny Piñol says the aim of rice importation is to stabilize rice prices in the market by increasing supply. However, the entrance of fancy rice in the market has effectively hiked the price of local rice.
Ngayon, kapag ang ini-import ay fancy rice, lalo lang tumataas ang presyo ng bigas kasi sila yung nagsaset ng trend. At 55, 58 pesos per kilo, jasmine rice, long grains and so on. Humahabol ngayon yung local na bigas. Nasa 45, 48.
This has prompted him to recommend to the NFA Council not to allow the importation of 5% broken rice and to set the limit of allowable breakage percentage at 25% only. Piñol says this will allow the government to recover control over the price of rice in the market. The official also announces the importation will now be strictly supervised by the Department of Agriculture.
And starting today, lahat ng importasyon ng bigas will have to be supervised by the Department of Agriculture. Magpapadala po kami ng inspectors. Kung halimbawa Vietnam, bago ikarga yung bigas, magpapadala ko ng tao kasama taga NFA. We will inspect. May bukbok ba yan? Walang bukbok? Yan by 25% broken para wala ng lusutan.
Meanwhile, the NFA Council will be giving incentives in the form of tractors and free use of flatbed dryers, among others, to encourage Filipino farmers to sell rice to the NFA. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
A group of supermarket owners expresses worries over the possible effects of the congestion of empty container imports to the prices of goods this month. Monokson tells us why.
A trucker named Abraham loses at least 40,000 pesos a week due to the congestion of empty containers in the port area. He's unable to use his truck to accept new deliveries as foreign shipping companies take 5 days to get their empty containers from truckers. Foreign shipping companies are piling thousands of containers here instead of returning it back to their country due to cheaper costs. This has resulted to the congestion of empty containers in the port. Truckers now plan to pass on the charges to their clients by adjusting the cost of their services.
Magtataas po kami dahil sa sitwasyon nga po na isang biyahe hanggang 2 biyahe na lang po kami. Mamamatay po kami dito.
The Bureau of Customs has already issued an administrative order penalizing shipping companies that will refuse to take their empty containers back to their country. However, the shipping companies have yet to respond to the agency. If this continues, prices of products, especially the imported ones, will be affected this months. According to Stephen Kua, the president of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarket Association, supermarket owners who rely on trucks for the delivery of their supplies are already worried of its possible effects.
I think mag-check up siyempre ang cost of delivery ng ating mga suppliers, no? I hope it does not translate into increase in prices again, no? Sa bagay, temporary lang naman pa sigurong congestion, no? Pwede namang resolbahan yan.
Aside from the empty container congestion in ports, heavy traffic in Metro Manila can also contribute to higher prices, especially this months. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Senator Joel Villanueva lauds the move of President Duterte to certify the security of tenure bill as urgent. This is following Senate President Vicente Soto III's statement that he received a letter from the President urging the immediate enactment of Senate Bill number 1826. Villanueva, who chairs the Senate Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development, says the practice of contractualization affects more than 1.9 million workers in the private sector. About 3 out of 10 Filipino workers are also not regular, and 1 out of 2 non-regular workers are contractual. Once passed into law, the measure would remove ambiguities in the labor code, which is the source of circumventions, and prohibit labor-only contracting and provide penalties for violation, limit job contracting to licensed and specialized services, classify workers into regular and probationary employees, and treat project and seasonal employees as regular employees, among others. Villanueva believes that giving the country's workers certainty and social protection makes them more efficient and more productive. The local government of Naga City and Cebu is gathering the profiles of families living in the village that was struck by a landslide as death toll climbs to 56. Gladys Tuabi tells us why.
The search operation for the victims of the landslide that struck a sitio in Tinaan village in Naga City now enters its 5th day, with 58 confirmed dead and 28 still missing. Authorities say they will continue the search in the hopes of finding all the victims amid perilous situation. Officials are also working to relocate the residents to safer grounds by gathering the profiles of families living in the site. In a meeting attended by the representatives from the National Housing Authority, Housing and Urban Coordinating Council, and the Office of the Civil Defense, officials have agreed to open a housing project for the affected families.
So napagkayarian, we will initially sa first phase ng project, we will be constructing 320 units of permanent housing. Ang floor area, 28 square meters.
HUDCC Chairman Del Rosario also shares they have already drafted the design and dimensions for the first phase of the housing project, which is expected to be erected in the Gawat Kalinga community in Tinaan Village. The site development is seen to commence in 2 weeks, pending a clearance from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources on the area's safety.
Kasi among gi-divide siya, phase 1 siya ka phase 2. The phase 1 is i-handle sa NHA, kaya very immediate man siya. So we need to provide housing sa mga katugyong naigo, na matyan, katugyong dito sa danger area. So that is something like 175 to 200 million na among i-allocate.
The HUDCC is also looking to build the project's second phase at a Balili property in Oboran Village, which was donated by the Cebu Provincial Government.
That will be funded via the congressional proposal para lang po mapadali atong phase 2.
Based on the records of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, around 1,590 families from Tinaan Village are currently staying in 7 evacuation centers. Gladys Tuabi, UNTV News and Rescue, Cebu.
The Office of the Civil Defense in the Cordillera region is looking to recommend to shift to the retrieval mode the current search and rescue operation in the landslide hit Itogon, Benguet, as the number of confirmed fatalities reaches over 60. Nel Maribok tells us why.
8 workers find 4 more bodies in the ongoing search operation in Uka village that was hit by a massive landslide during Typhoon Ompong's onslaught. The retrieval of the said remains has now brought the number of confirmed fatalities to 61 while 21 others remain missing. The search effort in Ukab village has been ongoing for more than a week now. The Office of the Civil Defense in the Cordillera region is looking to recommend that the search and rescue operation be shifted to the retrieval mode. OCD Cordillera Director Ruben Carandang, who visited the ground zero earlier, explains the 8 workers no longer see any signs of life under the eroded soil.
Yes, I will recommend to the council. Maybe we will have a meeting tomorrow.
Carandang also cannot say how long the operation in the site will continue, citing the immensity of soil that covered several households.
Ang estimate ko, yung tumabon doon sa portal, about 10 meters na lupa yun eh. So naroon pa lang sila sa doon sa may bankmen na ginawa nilang chapel. Going to the portal, siguro mga 20 meters pa yun.
Meanwhile, based on the latest data from the Cordillera Region Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, the number of people killed due to Typhoon Ompong has reached 103, 78 of which were reported in Itogon, Benguet. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Itogon, Benguet.
5 members of the Baguio Benguet photographers, hikers, and artists club embark on a rescue relief effort in an isolated village in Itogon, Benguet. Let's find out why from June Soriao.
Several places in Itogon, Benguet remain isolated more than a week after Typhoon Ompong struck the province. This includes Salden Village, after roads leading to it were blocked by landslides. Last Saturday, the members of the Baguio Benguet Photographers, Hikers, Artists Club, namely Clinton Aniversario, Gabriel Braulio Jr., Jetro Gatdula, Jail Pua and Ray Costina headed to Salden Village. From Baguio City, they packed some relief goods they bought out of their own pockets and gathered from their friends.
Kasi kung hindi sa drive ng UNTV na mag-distribute ng relief goods sa Luneta, baka hindi namin nakita yun eh. Baka nandun kami sa ibang lugar. Buti na lang at sumama kami doon sa first drive nila.
They trekked their way from Trail Tuding to Saldin since vehicles could no longer be used to traverse the block roads. The group trudged for hours, enduring muddy trails, steep and undulating hills, and deep cliffs to reach the village.
Around 5 kilometers po yung layo, pero dahil sa may buhat-buhat po kami, na times 2 yung layo. Pero sa aming experience na hikers, alam na po namin kasi nasubukan na rin naming nadulas, kaya talagang nag-safety precaution na rin po kami para hindi kami maging casualty rin. Ang nagpahirap rin na isa ay umuulan yung araw na yun, kaya madulas rin yung talaga yung daan.
The group took photos of their surroundings in between breaks of their taxing journey to show to people who had never heard of the said village in the northern Luzon. The photos they took clearly showed the devastating effects that Typhoon Ompong left in the remote area.
Yun ang pinakamagandang pakiramdam dahil biglang maalis yung pagod mo na makikita mo silang tuwang-tuwa at hindi mo na mai-record yung tuwa nila kasi ikaw natutuwa ka na rin na buti na alala nyo kami, kayo yung first na nakaalala. Sabi namin, kami tagabuhat lang po kami kaya ang pasalamatan nyo po yung mga nagbigay.
Clinton and his colleagues believe that being a follower of art, their efforts do not only stop in their masterpiece, but it extends to becoming part of the solution to the problems that are caused by disasters. Jun Suriao, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the stories in the first and second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thio. I'm Rheena Villamor-Camara. Good evening.